Tim.
Yes.
Nope, I'll do it as in the meeting. No. I want you to be in there.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah, Paul, just call my number, please. Every time you do that, the people or the WebEx doesn't see a camera. All it sees is the PowerPoint.
So good morning. Thank you all so very much. For those of you that cared enough to show up on time, I am Karen Hollis. Thank you and welcome to Miramar. How many of you? It appears that the three of you, this is your first time here at the city. Excellent. Well, you have been here before. Is it your first time at the city? Okay, well, just one. We did meet you at the FITSE workshop in Broward County, which was an extravagant event, and we thank you so much for having attended that and for taking heed to our call for you to attend this morning to see what's going on here at Miramar. As I said before, I am Karen Hollis. I am the individual within whom the city of Miramar has charged to ensure and develop programs and services to enlighten and invite more diversity and inclusion on city projects. Now, there are several ways in which we continue to do that, but I wanted to provide an overview, and I always start every webinar that we have with an overview of the program so that you can have a better understanding of two things: what it is that we're trying to accomplish with the programs and services from BID, and what it is that we invoke and are trying to ensure that we empower you with so that you can help your business grow and develop even beyond the city of Miramar. And so today's webinar, I will go over the Business Inclusion and Diversity Program, but today's webinar is about our collaboration with Nova Southeastern University. This collaboration was established maybe 3 years ago, and one of the things that I realized after attending one of the burger boot camps at Nova Southeastern University, which we call NSU, is that they provide an array of services to minority businesses at no cost, legal services, which can be very, very costly. And so in that process, I wanted to ensure that our local minority businesses and other minority businesses knew that these resources were being made available by the university. And the reason that they're being made available is to ensure that firms have an opportunity to take advantage of them. And so upon seeing the extent to which Mr. Stephen Cass, which is our presenter for today, I'll introduce him a little later, and he and his team were going to try to spread the news about this wonderful concept that they have engaged at the Berger Institute at NSU, the city of Miramar, through the BID program. We decided to see if we can partner with them for two reasons. Number one, it's a great opportunity for us to get Mr. Cass to come locally and make his services available to our local firms, which is very important to city leadership. But it's also an opportunity for us to share to the Tri-County area and the small business community that these services are available. So we'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk a little bit about BID. The Business Inclusion and Diversity Program was established in 2018 to effectively develop, administer, and to implement the diversity study findings. The city of Miramar conducted a disparity study, is what it's technically called, back in between the periods of 2011 and 2016, when local businesses came to the city leaders and said, we have been struggling trying to ensure inclusion on city projects. Now, we're an interesting city. We're a very small city. We love, and it's a true statement, you'll hear our mayor and a lot of our city leaders say, there's something special about the city of Miramar because we're about 30 minutes from everything. So location is everything. And we have more Fortune 500 businesses in our little tiny city than most cities throughout the South Florida region, is believed that I heard them say. And because of that, it allows businesses that choose to open their business in the city of Miramar, afford them opportunities to expand and collaborate in areas and with other top businesses that I don't believe other minority businesses have at their disposal in other cities that don't have the benefit of so many Fortune 500 companies. And with that, those small businesses, we have not only businesses that are of certain caliber, but we have a lot of minority businesses that have been in the city for more than 34 years. And when those businesses came to this panel and said, we are having difficulty seeking inclusion, city leadership said, we need to do something about it. First thing is to collect data to see if, in fact, the concerns of our local residents and business owners were legitimate. And so the city engaged in a disparity study, which went for 5 years between 2005 to 2011 to determine the extent to which the city was operating in terms of inclusion for these businesses. Unfortunately, the study concluded that we need to do a better job as a city. As a result of that, now there are a lot of cities that conduct disparity studies and organizations. And when those study results are not favorable, unfortunately, nothing happens. Because not only does it take a lot of money and it's quite an investment to engage in a disparity study, more importantly, it's quite an investment to implement programs and services on the offsets, trying to eradicate those things that the study made available to you and brought to your attention. But I'm happy to say that the city of Miramar did something differently. The city of Miramar actually implemented this program in 2018 with the direct instructions for us to try to see if we can eradicate the findings and to implement the recommendations that the study said we as a city need to do better. So BID, the Business Inclusion and Diversity Program, is evidence of the city of Miramar's goal to eradicate business discrimination and to amplify diversity and inclusion efforts. Next slide. So this is who we are in a nutshell. BID, we seek to do three things: educate, connect, and help businesses grow. We educate them because in collecting data throughout the period since the inception of BID, we have discovered that the majority of businesses that are not successful on city projects is primarily because many do not have the knowledge and the capacity or the wherewithal to be able to compete on solicitation projects to the extent and at the same caliber of a larger or what we call a prime contractor. And so these are barriers that the study identified and made available to us and offered some recommendations and things and measures we can do to ensure that we level the playing field and we ensure access and additional information in advance for smaller businesses so that they have the time within to prepare. So educating the businesses on the things that we learned from this study that we need and desire to do better, educating the businesses on the procurement process and what it is that the city is trying to advance to ensure more inclusion. And then the next thing that we do is try to connect them. Because the truth of the matter is that although all procurement solicitations are open and available to everyone to respond, not every business that desires to do business with the city of Miramar will be successful. That's just a reality. And it's not because the city is excluding anyone from responding to the solicitations, but there are certain things that we can do and there are certain connections that we are able to make to ensure that even if those businesses are not successful doing business here with the city of Miramar, we want you to know what our community stakeholders and other government agencies are doing. So we connect businesses that come to the city of Miramar, not just with the city of Miramar and our resources. This is Exhibit A and a perfect example of that connection. When we know that other organizations, when we know that other government agencies, when we know that our community stakeholders have training programs, have offerings that can help you grow your business, then one of the things that we do in our initiative to connect is to ensure that we bring those resources here to the extent we can and make them available to our local firms. But we also have webinars and workshops, and we make flyers and disseminate the information to make sure we empower businesses with as much information as we can to be able to grow their businesses even beyond the city of Miramar. And then we try to help businesses grow. That's the whole point of all of the webinars and the workshop sessions, because at the end of the day, a business that's in the business of trying to make money. It's nice that we hold all of these workshops. We understand and we respect the time that it takes for a minority business to be able to attend these workshops. When you show up here, we know that that means you've closed your business for the most part, that you are not making money. And so we respect that time, as you know, and one of the ways that we do is to start timely, even to the extent that we don't have as many businesses in place, because we respect those of you that chose to show up on time. And we want you to know that your time is very valuable. More importantly, in this growth process, while it's nice to give you information on how to access more capital, on how to learn more about marketing, on how to expand your web page, the most important information that we disseminate through BID is how you can access contracting opportunities. Because we want you to know that we understand that the most important way that a business can grow is through securing contracting opportunities, is through being successful in accessing a contract or being a partner with a prime contractor or being made aware of departmental spends and things of that nature that you as a business can take advantage of and capitalize on, which will result in a work order, a contract, or some way in which you can earn money for your business. So that's us in a nutshell. So BID strives to eradicate discriminatory barriers by developing programs to advance the vision and the goals of the city of Miramar and all of those things that we do to educate, connect, and grow. Next slide, please. Okay, so the disparity study gave us certain recommendations. And one of the things that was done is to implement programs and services to be able to eradicate those things. So outreach, they said we need to do a better job in outreach. And so we took outreach from just local events that we have at the city, and we extended to going to Broward County when we see the FITCIs taking place, which is a nationwide international organization. You'll see us at various institutions trying to make sure that we spread out as much as we can to ensure that we're implementing information to the businesses. Equal access, I alluded to that a little bit. We wanted to make sure that the smaller micro businesses and the minority and disadvantaged and women-owned businesses have just as much an opportunity to participate on city projects as the prime and the larger businesses. Mentoring, one of the things that we do, we are in the midst of COVID. Even organizations are feeling the impact of that. And so our mentoring, for the most part, up until this point, we had to go to virtual mentoring, whereby we collaborate and we connect prime contractors with smaller businesses so that they can tell their best efforts and some of the things that they've done successfully to secure contracting opportunities with the city, in hopes that they can help our smaller businesses that are having challenges in those areas be able to take on some of those skill building things to be able to grow as well. Technical development, that's what this is. We have a program called Bid Fit. We need to get them fit, just like you get your body fit. We thought it was a creative way of saying we can get the businesses fit to be able to be more available and capable and ready to do business with the city. What does that mean? There are projects, especially in the construction industry, which was one of the critical areas that the disparity study said we need to work on. Insurance and bonding requirements. While they can be a barrier, they are not tools that can and must be always eliminated. So one of the things that we do through the BidFit program, we try to have bonding experts and we partner with insurance experts. These are individuals that work and have trade industry knowledge of working with smaller and minority businesses and are familiar with some of the federal programs that smaller businesses may not even be aware of that they can capitalize on, that makes that bonding and insurance process not only available to them and more accessible, but they understand it and they're being given guidance from an expert throughout the entire process till the end, which concludes with securing insurance and or bonding. Not just handing them information like we do when we go out to the outreach things, but then connecting them with these experts and allowing them to mentor them and partner with them and carry them through the process of insuring. So that's some of the things that's been coming through the BidFit program. And then you have monitoring and compliance. That's a huge segment to ensure that once a business, especially a smaller business, is successful in securing a contract with the city, then that business, we have measures in place to protect and to help to ensure that you will be able to successfully perform on the other side. Because one of the things that the disparity study also concluded and showed was that a lot of businesses, they do secure the larger contracts. Well, you know, let's say with the new transportation thing with Broward County, there's so many businesses that secure these large contracts for the very first time, and they do not have the wherewithal or even the understanding of everything that it will take for you to be able to successfully perform in order to get paid. You may or may not know, if you've not been on a major contract, you have to submit what's called an acceptable invoice. So that's not just you writing out like you would do as a small business and you're owning a shop, where you just say, this is how much you said you would pay me, this is how much work I've done, and here it is. A successful invoice with some of the prime contractors require additional information. It requires that they adequately display and inform of various aspects of the work that they've done. A lot of smaller businesses, because they don't have the legal knowledge, because they don't have as much staff as the larger businesses, are simply not able, and unfortunately, I hate to say, don't always read the entire contract, because when you go through a solicitation process, those contracts can be up to 45 and 50 pages. And I don't know how many homeowners that we have in the room, but if you've ever purchased a home and you sat down at the closing and it was shocking to me and my husband, I was 19 the first time I purchased a home. And I was even working in a law firm at that time, and Barry University had educated me on how to be a paralegal. But I will be honest with you, I did not sit and read all of those 5,000 papers. I literally sign here, sign there. And when you're a small business, likewise, not only did I continue to purchase a home, I went off to the University of Miami and secured a law degree. And guess what? I purchased several homes since then, and I still did not read each and every paper. And so we want you to know that when we're saying these things about smaller businesses, really do not sit and read all 45 documents. It's not a critique of judgment. It's just an understanding of a barrier that exists and a knowledge for us as leaders and instruments and individuals and resources and community partners that are looking for ways in which we can level the playing field, give you the tools that you need when we know that there's an organization that have lawyers in training. I interned in a lot of places while I was in law school. So they have lawyers, future lawyers. That's a word. He'll give you more about that are in place that will sit down with a business, that will help them read those things. Kind of like what I did when I interned. I actually interned at the IRS. You'll be amazed as to how many people don't read that information. And so the Internal Revenue Service, like NSU, they utilize some of the interns from the University of Miami to assist individuals that they know that have struggled with what government refers to as the red tape. So today's webinar is going to be critical, and it's one of those things in collaborations that we're most proud about. Next slide, please. So not only that, we have to look back at the data, because the data tells the story, and the data really doesn't lie. So during the pre-study of the disparity study, and for the two that came in afterwards, the city conducted a disparity study to see how it is and what we need to do in terms of more inclusion for smaller minority and disadvantaged businesses. The study and the data reflected during the study that there was only 7.43% of the city's entire spend through a 5-year period that went to small minority and disadvantaged businesses. And 92.57% went to non-small businesses. That was the conclusion. That was the data. That was the result. That was so alarming to my leaders that made them feel that not only do we respect having done the study, but we are definitely going to go to the next level of implementing measures to see what, if anything, we can do to improve this process. And I'm happy to stand here, Paul having been here with me for the majority of time since the 2017 through 2020. We now can say that through that post-study period, 29.2% of the city's total spend has now been given to small minority and disadvantaged businesses, and we're down to 70.8%. Believe it or not, that's over 393% increase in the city's ability to ensure more inclusion for minority businesses. Next slide, please. So we didn't just stop there. We like that it's up to 29%. That shows that the programs and services are actually working, and that's a good thing. But the truth of the matter is there are a lot of other measures that go into those equations. And so the city still continues to gather data, some of what you're going to hear about today with Mr. Cass. And we wanted to do more. So as of April 2021, the commission added the BID Act to the city code. Because now that the programs and services demonstrate that we're making progress, and the programs and services are in fact helping the cities. So we took it a step further. It's now been added to the city code. And next slide, please. So from that, we now have additional programs and services that we're putting into place. We're literally putting policies and procedures and more reporting and documenting the economic as well as the social impact of the additional things that we'll be doing, most of which are in that packet and we'll review at the end. Next slide, please. And so all of the programs that we have, we ask the prime contractors, let's talk just the basics of what it is that we do in a nutshell. City contracts are now included for the most part with percentages. We require them to be either certified CBE and SBE firms. A CBE, and every time I give Paul the corrected one, I don't know how we end back with this. CBE means county business enterprise, not certified business enterprise. And the SBE means small business enterprise. Not having worked in the government before, when I came in, I was very surprised to learn that they have so many acronyms and they know them all and they use them so frequently. And there's a presumption that everyone understands what they mean. Well, having been a newcomer to this industry, I know that's not true. And so what I try to do is make sure that the businesses ensure, as well as the prime, a complete understanding. So the city of Miramar itself is not a certifying agency. We partner with Broward County. We are a subset of Broward County and their certification. What is certification? It's a vetting process. It's a vetting process that the county and a lot of other organizations use to ensure that they're able to identify ready, willing, and able businesses, which is a criteria for being able to do business with organizations and government agencies. And so we don't have that here. We partner with our Broward County and we accept certified firms that are CBE and SBE. So when a prime contractor gets a contract that says that you have a 15% CBE, SBE goal, there is a list of certified businesses of Broward County, and we provide that list to them so that they can identify those certified firms to be able to meet that goal. Next slide. Another component of what the city is doing that we're very proud about is to ensure local goals on contracts. Why? It was the local businesses that have been in the city of Miramar for 30, 40 years that have said, you know, I'm a grocery store. What are you going to do for me? I'm a painter. Surely there's some inclusion for me. The city, just like most organizations, believe it or not, the city buys everything. Everything. I didn't know that unless you're in government. There is nothing, very seldom. The city buys everything. And now, as a result of COVID, they even buy masks and different things that they didn't do before. And so whenever the opportunity presents itself and or a need, I used to always say that pre-COVID, and I think a lot of the businesses that heard me say that before, I say sometimes based on a need, the city positioned itself to purchase things that would not have been purchased but for the need. And a lot of businesses didn't understand that, but with COVID, purchasing masks is a perfect example of that. And so when we say there's a local goal, what does that mean? We're expecting that prime contractor to use local businesses. And the procurement code gives a definition of exactly what a local business is. It says that a local business shall be domiciled within the city of Miramar city limits, that a local business shall comply with all city of Miramar licensing requirements and be current on all city taxes. Each and every business that meet those two criteria, a prime contractor can use to meet their local goal on their contract. So that's an overview of the Business Inclusion and Diversity Program, more importantly of the goals and objectives that the City of Miramar is seeking to advance with the inclusion of this program. And now I would like to introduce you and move forward to today's event and the purpose of today's event, which is to let you know more about the burger. I'm such a professor because I see her going through the packet. And usually when I'm teaching, I always tell the student, put that down. Um, but the City of Miramar and Nova Southeastern University, I want you to know about the information that the NSU is making available to businesses like yourself. What we wanted to do, we partnered with them 2 years ago and we had a workshop. At that workshop, we literally had Mr. Cass as well as the students came the first time. And we were ready, and we had an opportunity for businesses to come and talk with the students and to be able, our hopes was to be able for those businesses to provide legal services. Well, I want you to know, and I'm very, very proud to say, not only do we host webinars, but we get your feedback. You're going to get a survey probably from Paul saying, tell us a little bit about the workshop. You'll also get an email from me saying, thank you for having attended. And usually individual gives us their feedback. Well, when we did the first workshop, what Mr. Cass and I found was that we really didn't position the businesses that needed the help, because this is not one of those workshops where we need 5,000 individuals. It would be nice if we had 5,000 individuals to show up, but it's a technical workshop. So not every business will need these services, but we will continue to make these services available for the few businesses that need it, because we know it's a necessary service. We've learned that through the surveys that we've done. More importantly, when we did it the first time and the businesses were here, a lot of the businesses were able to get all of the information from Mr. Cass, but were not prepared at the time, having not understood exactly what NSU will make available, to be able to capitalize on all of the information. So we're doing it a little different this time. Mr. Cass and I are going to kick it off. As you can see, the students are not here. So what we said we would do is a two-part. Want the businesses to first get the information and have a full understanding of the available services that NSU will make available to you. And then once you get that information, Mr. Cass is working, remember I told you, with law students. Classes start, guess what? In January. So the students that will be helping all of you don't start his class until January. And so with the information that he gets from each of you today in terms of any kind of legal assistance that you may need, he's now going to be able to work with those students when they come in January through April. The course is for all of you that went to college, January to April is a semester. So he will be able to work with the students with the information you provide, be able to schedule one-on-one, because remember, legal services, kind of like when you go to a CPA, it's very, very personal. And you don't need, nor do we desire for you to share that information in a public forum. And so again, we learned how to do things a little better to make it more effective. So we are going to have information given to you today. He's going to go back and work with the students. We will have a follow-up workshop with NSU in April, where the students will come having prepared and ready to meet and assist you with those things that you inform Mr. Cass and the students about post having attended today's session. Okay? So thank you so very much. It will make more information and it will make more sense as Mr. Cass go on. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you all Mr. Stephen Cass. He is a good fellow, and of the Berger Institute at Nova Southeastern University. Mr. Cass.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Karen. I'm actually going to just sit here. That's okay. It's a small group. It's informal. And I thank you for that introduction. I thank you for some of the things that you said brought very much back. I was with Karen here. Actually, you came to our offices. How could we collaborate? We talked about it. The first year we came out probably 3 years ago. And we were in the other City of Miramar facility, and there's probably about 50, 60 people in attendance that time. And I gave, Pre-COVID, yeah, exactly, because that's part of the whole story here. We spoke a lecture similar to what I'm giving, although I had a little more time than today, and I'm going to shorten it. But we're going to be back in April of 2022 with my students. And every semester the students change, but we do a great job every semester. So we came out, and we also put on something called the Burger Boot Camp, which I'll explain in a few minutes. And we're doing it again this year. I'm going to have a special panel, and we're going to deal with that panel today. And I'm going to be asking you folks for input. I brought a pad, and I'm going to be taking notes. Baron's going to be, Dr. Hollis is going to be taking notes, and you'll see it's going to be very exciting, and you're all invited to this boot camp. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So today, what I want to cover is a little bit of a lecture, maybe 10, 15 minutes, important legal considerations for small businesses. I could talk on this for hours, but our time is somewhat limited. After that overview, I am going to talk about the resources available through the NSU's Burger Entrepreneur Law Clinic. I'm also going to talk about the upcoming 2022 Burger Entrepreneur Boot Camp. The actual publicity is going out next week for it. The boot camp will take place on February 18th and 19th of 2022, 2 days on the NSU campus. No need to take notes. I'm going to give you the PowerPoint slides. I actually just sent it to you in PDF form about a half hour ago. You can distribute it out to the audience. And in the boot camp, we're going to have 8 different hour-and-a-half panels over the course of 2 days, Friday and a Saturday. And one of the panel, and I'm the director and the coordinator, if you will, of this boot camp. One of the panels we added this year, this is our 3rd annual. We were actually supposed to do it last year, last 2 Septembers, didn't happen because of COVID. I was supposed to, with my students, come out a year and a half ago on March 31st, I believe it was. And on March 13th, the whole world shut down, as you know, and that got canceled. But we'll be doing it again, I think, in early April this year. In any event, we added a panel talking, the whole theme of it is innovation, success, and how to help everybody succeed. And we'll get into this. But one of the panels deals with the challenges that startups faced in underserved communities. And we're going to have a panel discussion. Dr. Hollis, myself, and 3 other individuals will be leading that. And we're going to be talking about the challenges that small businesses, underserved communities have, and the resources available, the challenges they experience, the resources and strategies. And we're going to hope to do something about that. We've been talking, Dr. Hollis and myself, she took a survey we talked about, and this is going to amplify this survey today. So with that, and finally, we'll have a little bit of time for additional questions and answers. If we go to the next slide, I'm going to just give you important legal considerations for small business. Next slide, please. So I'm going to break it down into 2 areas: getting it off the ground, starting it up, and then operating it. So getting your business off the ground. And first of all, by show of hands, how many people already have a business? Okay, most of you. And some of you, are you considering opening a business? Yes, no? Yes. Great. So before you start, people come up with an idea, maybe several friends get together, or you get an investor, and you say, let's do this, whatever this may be. And certain of the things you should be doing as a future small business is choosing the type of entity that you're going to operate from. And it can be yourself, not even an entity, but a sole proprietorship. It could be a corporation. It could be a limited liability company. It could be a partnership. There's all sorts of options under Florida law. And what you should be thinking about. You need to understand what they are and the pros and cons, and you'll begin to select it. The second thing is if there's more than one of you, which often is the case, if there's one of you, you're in charge. You make every decision, you do what you want to do. But the minute you get a second person and a third or fourth, you then have to figure out a number of questions. Who's going to own it? What's the ownership percentages? How is it going to be managed? Whose responsibilities? How much money are we going to raise, if any, et cetera, et cetera. And those are things that you should be thinking about before you form business. And sometimes if there's a lot of work that goes into it before forming the business, and there's going to be a period of time, sometimes you'll enter into what's called a founder's agreement. And it may include certain people are bringing things to the table, maybe some intellectual property or what have you, ideas. And you might have in that agreement that we're going to start a business, assuming we can get some money together or whatever. And but in the meantime, we're going to keep it confidential. Who's going to own what? I brought to the table my idea. It's my idea, not the business's. You do a founder's agreement. But at some yeah.
Get the money ahead of time. Now when I talk about these long before.
I'll give you a war story, and this is what my students, I live with war stories. Because I practiced for close to 40 years, but I've been doing this clinic for 4 years now. We've had about 30 or 40 clients. Our very first client came to us. He had formed the corporation before coming. It was his corporation, but he capitalized. In all your articles of incorporation, you talk about what the authorized capital is. He had 10 million shares. Why? Because he thought he was going to become the biggest thing in the world, 10 million shares. He issued 100 shares of those to himself, started the business, came to us. We helped him out with a variety of issues, or the company, his corporation, a variety of issues. And he actually was from a Latin American country, South American country. And somehow or other, he met a consultant who said there's all these opportunities because through the state of Florida, there's Broward County, there's the city of Miramar, there's the state of Florida, there's the U.S. Small Business Administration. He had heard about you could become a certified minority business through the state of Florida, and because he was from South America, he would qualify. But the consultant who helps people with this says, you're not going to get approved. Why? Because you got 10 million shares and you got 100. And the people that are going to look at this application are going to say, you're going to be a front person for somebody else. And as a result, she said, you've got to recapitalize it. So my clinic recapitalized it. And what I mean by recapitalize is actually relatively simple from a corporate law standpoint. We just filed an amendment to the Articles of Incorporation, reducing the authorized capital so that it wouldn't look like I got 100 shares, but there's going to be somebody else with 1,000,000 shares, whatever. And you're using him to get the status, to get this bid priority thing, et cetera. So it's a lot of times the legal stuff is simple to do, but it's just knowing how to operate in a legal society and with governments and other entities. So let me go on. Entity formation. You then need to form your corporation. Why do you want a corporation or limited liability company? The primary reason is it limits your liability. If you do something as a sole proprietorship, let's say you open up a store, I could open up a law firm, Stephen Cass Law Firm. Attorneys at law, office of Stephen Cass, and I don't even have to incorporate. Do a partnership, but if I do it, my personal assets are at risk because I am doing business as myself. Okay? If I formed a corporation called Stephen Cass Law Offices Inc. or PA, PA is Professional Association, but corporation, then the clients are doing business with the corporation. And if something bad happens, they can sue the corporation for anything. You can't sue me personally. Actually, as a lawyer, for the bar rules, and this is way off topic, I am responsible. I can't shield myself from legal malpractice. But for example, if I had walked in and slipped and fallen, injured, God forbid, died even, you could sue the company. It wasn't legal malpractice, but only those assets are at risk, but not my personal assets. So most of startups want to be a corporation or an LLC. They're very, very similar. I can explain the differences, but it's too much to get into right now and why you want to do it. It doesn't really matter, except there are certain advantages and disadvantages to doing it. You're going to form the entity. You've got to file on SunBiz, but it's more than that. And a lot of times we see people have filed articles of incorporation, articles of organization on SunBiz, but nothing more. And that doesn't even technically fully organize a corporation under Florida law. And the problem with that is you think you're operating in a corporate format with liability shield, but there's a concept in the law called piercing the corporate veil that says if you're really, even though you got a name corporation, you're not acting as a corporation, you're not having meetings, you're not having boards and overseeing things, or you're commingling your personal funds. This is the most dangerous thing, commingling your personal business funds. They're saying, yeah, there's a corporation, but you're really operating as yourself, and they can go against your personal assets. You need to dot the I's and cross the T's. And so many small businesses don't do that. You clinically find that out just by talking with the clients. When you're done, you got your corporate minutes. What do you mean corporate minutes? I got my filed on SunBiz. We'll make your corporate minutes. Yes, sir. I thought you had a question. So we do that. Now, there's some other considerations legally right at the outset. A lot of times when you form a corporation, let's say it's Steve Cass Inc., but I want to do business and I have a logo that says corporate law specialists, right? And I'm using a different name in my corporation. Florida law requires that you have to file a fictitious name. That's like a DBA, doing business as. So maybe Stephen Cass Inc., doing business as Great Corporate Law, or something like that, whatever I want to use. And you need to file that. And a lot of times people don't. And there's purposes for that. And I don't want to get in because we don't have time. You need to think about what your tax status is going to be. And there's basically two big things there. One is what's called entity taxation, like corporate law. You form an entity. Even if it's an LLC, you can be taxed under corporate law. And you fill out a tax return called Form 1120. It shows your revenue, your expenses, shows a profit or loss. But let's say there's a profit, the corporation pays the taxes. You may have heard of something called S corporations. That's subchapter S of the Internal Revenue Code. You can have the entity file what's called an information return. You get a certain amount of revenue, certain amount of expenses, the same amount of profit, but it flows through to the owners. And they're taxed at their individual rates instead of the corporate rates. Up till 2017, corporate rates were higher than individual rates. It may happen again, but you want to sit down and think about these issues talk to a CPA or tax lawyer or any other financial specialist and say which is better, and make those elections. Whereas whether you want to be taxed, there's certain defaults, and LLCs can be taxed as a partnership, but you can be elected to be a C corp or an S corp, tax that way. You need to think about those right at the outset. You brought up already insurance. I'm not going to talk about that, but there's a lot of insurance that you need to have in place, including what's called a comprehensive general liability policy. If somebody gets hurt by your property or advertising injury if you've named somebody, things like that, as well as the typical, if you've got a vehicle, the auto insurance or a building, that type of stuff. Another thing you need to think about right at the outset is business licensing. Do you need a license? Whether from a state agency, as a lawyer, I wouldn't even know this, but happens every year. My office is, I work for a big firm in downtown Miami, and you have a City of Miami occupational license. Our back staff takes care of it, but every year I got to fill a little form. They pay, I think, $75 for these little licenses, but other businesses are licensed. We had a client that was a digital marketing academy. And one of the questions that the client asked, and this is a typical thing, the client was sophisticated enough to know, says, do I need to be licensed through the Department of Education or one of its branches, if you will? And the answer is yes, unless you're exempt. We did an analysis, and we helped them structure their program in a way that allowed them to be exempt. By saying, hey, if you're doing it this way, you're going to need a whole licensing. It looks like a mini accreditation process, but there are certain exceptions to licensing if you limit your activities in certain. We provided research and a memo analyzing it and talking to people in Tallahassee, and said, you do it this way, you're going to be limited to this extent, but you don't need to go through this process, which would have slowed them down by about a year. So, yeah. Yeah, I'll do the caveat later. I'll do the caveat later in a minute when we get to another slide. Let's go to the next slide, please. So now you got your business off the ground, and there's a lot of things you need to do. A lot of times you have customers, and you might have customer contracts. So contracts, and this is the kind of stuff we do at the clinic. So customer contracts, and someone may consumer contracts, which you may want a simpler contract, a one-pager that they can just sign and say, this is what we're doing, this is what you're going to pay me, this is when we're going to do it, et cetera. Well, like even if you get pest control service or whatever, and they give you, truly no one will give you like a one-page thing, sign it with all the little stuff on the back. Or you might have a business-to-business contract that may be much more fine-tuned and tailored. You do those. You may have employees. You may want to contract with them. Often you don't need one, but it may be a more important employee. You may want confidentiality or non-compete provisions in there. If he or she leaves your company, you may bring on people as independent contractors to provide services for your company on behalf of your client. Obviously, leases for real and personal property, office lease or personal property, maybe copy and machine lease, things like that. Don't use sign. Usually, you don't have much choice on a lot of this stuff, but sometimes you can negotiate. But importantly, we'll sit down and we'll say, understand, this is what this is saying. This is what this is saying, what this means practically and what you need to do. And a lot of times people don't know that. They sign it, they don't know what's in there, and they're not complying, and there's going to be problems in the road. And then there's financing contracts, bank loans, whatever. If you have a website, and so many companies nowadays do have websites, so many do. And sometimes you've been on websites where it says, you know, website terms of service. You got to scroll down about 18 pages, click here to agree. Nobody reads it. I read them, but most people don't. We've drafted those. Those are talking about how the user interacts with the website. So there's a chat room. You're not going to do this or do that. You're not going to reverse engineer it, whatever. It's a contract regarding use of that website. There's also usually associated with privacy policies. If you're collecting information from your people, that's regulated, and it's an area of the law that's very dynamic right now, changing. Everybody's got privacy concerns. States are adopting privacy laws. Right now, there's a model uniform privacy law that's been developed. Florida, I can tell you in the next 5-10 years, if the state doesn't have it, they're going to have a privacy law. California there's about 4 or 5 states, but they've created this uniform law, and they're going to be rolling it out to legislatures. Hopefully those legislatures will adopt it or something similar. And you're when you put information on there, you got to tell what it's for and how you're using it. You're going to be data mining. You're going to be selling your personal information, all that stuff. And that's in your privacy policy. Intellectual property. That really can help make a business go. Not all businesses have it, but quite frankly, they do, and you don't necessarily even know it. The ones that you file with the U.S. government are things like if you want to copyright something, you created a story or take a photograph, or you wrote a song, or you performed, recorded a song. All those things can be copyrighted under the U.S. copyright laws. It's provided for actually in the United States Constitution, set up for promotion of the arts and sciences, copyright and patent laws, and there's a U.S. copyright office. It's also U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, USPTO they call it, United States Patent and Trademark Office. So there you can file for a trademark. You have the McDonald's logo or any other logos that you've seen, Nike, everything. They file that with the U.S. Trademark Office in terms of a trademark or a service mark, which is the same as a trademark, but it's for services. So if I'm like a gym and I'm providing services, I don't know, bodybuilder gym or something, you can trademark that as a service mark, or if it's goods, it's a trademark. Like Coca-Cola is a trademark. But they're the same, different name. You can file those with the government. If it gets approved, you've got the exclusive right to use those. You can license that out to other people, and it's a huge moneymaker. Like Disney, if you see somebody with a Disney T-shirt, Mickey Mouse on it, presumably the Walt Disney Company could have done that, or they contract with other companies and say, you can use Mickey Mouse on the shirt, but meanwhile we want 10% of the sale you get. That's licensing. But aside from, and patents is you invent something and you get that patented and nobody else can do it for a certain period of time. And those are the ones that you file, but there's other ones. You have a business and you know how you're doing things. You may have customer lists, and those are, you don't let the world know that. Those are trade secrets, and you can those are protected under Florida and federal law. But there's things you need to do to obtain and maintain that protection. You have a legitimate business interest, you got to take reasonable steps to protect that. We can tell you what those things are, and not that you need us, but quite frankly, nobody knows. If I asked you Section 542.335 of the Florida statutes, that's the Trade Secret Act, okay? But you probably don't even know that, and I'm not putting anybody down. I wouldn't know it either, but also what it says and what you've got to do to maintain that trade secret. Restrictive covenants not to compete, not to disclose, non-disclosure agreement. Those can go into other contract, or you can have a standalone NDA where you're bringing somebody on and you want to show that maybe you're doing a business transaction, like selling your business. They want to examine it. You sign a non-disclosure agreement and probably a non-compete. You put them in the same document, and you're protecting your business processes, your financial information, your customer list, etc. And then you can license anything that you want others to monetize. You created somebody wrote a song, you want to license it to download it onto iTunes from your computer or whatever it may be, or from Amazon. And that author or composer is going to get a little bit of money. Maybe it's only a penny, maybe it's a tenth of a penny, but you sell 1 million. They sold their catalog, they sold it, and they got other people, for hundreds of millions of dollars. That intellectual property is very valuable because people want it, and you can license it out to others, record companies, and give them the right, and you share a little bit in it too. Next slide, please. So
There was a small business that worked for her. Sweet mom, because we were going to, she had created and was able to use, until not again, we're going to continue them.
It'll be 2 this year.
They had gone to an attorney for that information. They would have paid no less than $50,000. Good attorney.
We're good to, yeah, I'm a good attorney though. Yes, ma'am. It'll be Friday and Saturday, February 18th and 19th. It's going to be up on here. You'll get that. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a quick run through as well. So we're running out of time here, but we're going to move right forward. Resource available through the NSU Clinic. If you can go on, I just call it the Burger Clinic. Next slide, please. This is the clinic in action. This is actually our first client, the gentleman on the left. Myself, my hair is a little longer than, a little younger. 2 of my law students, the 3rd-year law students. And this was a slide actually my students put together for a presentation they did 2 weeks ago. And I just basically copied. So it says, what do we do? Under the supervision of Professor Cass, law students offer legal advice and representation to entry-level entrepreneurs, startup businesses, and nonprofits. Here. Okay, but let's go to the next page, and I'll give the caveats actually after this. So I just put down this quick slide of some samples of the services that clinic has provided over the last 4 years. We've had 30 or 40 clients. We've had 9 semesters worth of students. And first of all the matters I previously talked about, we've done that for various clients. It's always different for each client what they need. But other kinds of things is corporate and regulatory compliance. I actually touched on that with that little story I told. Corporate compliance, well, maybe, and this is so common, you come in, maybe they've been going for a couple of years, you say, can I see a minute book? They say, what's a minute book? And, getting that stuff in order. Again, protecting that, piercing the corporate against personal liability. Operating agreement amendments, maybe we've seen this on 4 occasions over the years. They came in with an operating agreement. That's an agreement for a limited liability company. It's similar to bylaws in a corporation. Explains how the company is going to run internal document, who's going to own what, who makes the decisions, whether it's manager managed, member managed, what happens if somebody wants to sell their interest, is there sell provisions, is there restrictions on transferability, but if there's disputes, how do we resolve them within the organization? They weren't happy with the equity. One guy was doing all this work. These are two college people that create a roommate matching service. They hired coders to develop an app. Actually, it was internet-based, and then it became an app on a phone. And one guy was working full-time, and he and his other friend, their partner, so to speak, said, wait, this isn't right. How do we reallocate the equity agreement? We've done it on a variety of things. Because a lot of times people go in with one idea, and as things move along, they say, wait a second, we didn't even think about this, or we need to change this. And better to do it rather than have it with your friends. Founder buyouts, where we either kicked out or wanted to leave. How are we going to deal with this? And dissolving companies. We dissolved an LLC last year. Parties just two women that did it for a few years. They said, we don't want to be doing it. How do we do that? We drafted the operating agreement. Actually, somebody wanted to take a sabbatical. The other one didn't want her to. And we dissolved the company, and it worked out well. And it was very amicable, but we got to go through all the steps. Photo releases, we've done some photography clients, videographers, doing those. If you're not tax exempt, you want to get not-for-profit, if you want to be tax exempt, you need to file with IRS, Section 501c3. If it's a charitable organization, which can be educational, can be specific, can be religious, variety of categories. We've done over 4 years. Sample clients. We've had for-profit entities. That's usually what we have. And I'm just giving a quick one. They provided either consumer goods or services, photography and video people, somebody doing beauty products and services. We had a martial arts trained with training and videos and sells them. Healthy lifestyle training. That's roommate matching, food preparation and delivery. And that's not everyone, but it's just like one that thought of last night. And business-to-business services. We're digital marketing consultants and Digital Marketing Academy. We've represented a software developer who provides software development services usually for other businesses. Healthcare consultants. People that were in the first boot camp, two women in their 50s who had been both in the healthcare field. They said, I'm a consultant. We created an entity for them. And we got them going. Computer training, somebody we just had from this semester. Who's actually a final year student at Nsu undergrad in the business school. Computer training goes into like assisted living facilities and whatever. Helps the people there and whatever. But it's gonna be a broader business than that. Nonprofits, we've had two humanitarian aid organizations, one that trains underprivileged youth and life skills to do what you're trying to do here. Somebody who's patient support and education. There's certain disease, and they're not a nonprofit for that. They're located in Central Florida. We've actually done a Chamber of Commerce bylaws for so I don't want to say who. Don't say.
Oh, no.
And sometimes we've had a for-profit client, two instances, for-profit, that said, you know what, we also, many of them are community-oriented, quite frankly. And I'll get into my cabinet in a second. Many of them are community-oriented and therefore want to do things and would say, we do this as a nonprofit. We've got to have a separate entity. Corporation, not for profit, under a different section of Florida statutes. And we go and we get them registered with the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, because charities have to register. A lot of them don't know that. And we help them do that, and help them do a 501c3 application. And so it's tax exempt, and you can get sales tax exemptions and stuff like that. And so we've done that for both. Next slide, please. All right, before we go to that, the caveats. So the Burger Entrepreneurship Clinic, I've been practicing law for almost 40 years, and I've never had such an easy time getting clients. Because when you don't charge for your services, it's amazing how easy you can get clients. It's amazing. But we have what I'll call a bandwidth problem. So we can't help everybody, because basically the purpose for the Burger Entrepreneur Law Clinic is to train third-year law students to be lawyers and business lawyers. I've been doing it a long time, and I'm working with them. So we work a little more slowly than at a typical law firm, because it's a training exercise as well. We provide services to businesses or individuals who cannot otherwise afford a lawyer. Okay? And so in my intake, I'm going to be asking you, if it's a startup and you really don't have the money for a lawyer, and I know how expensive it is. I'm at a big firm. My billing rate, you'd be sick if you know to pay it. I am. I can't afford myself. But in any event, at the clinic, and I'm retiring. Actually, I just announced this because I just told the firm, December 31st. Well, I told the the CEO of my firm, but I turned 65 4 years ago. My daughters were both married. I said, now I'm 65 and all grown up. What do I want to do with my life? And I said, I'd rather be teaching law school. I ended up becoming the director of this clinic. I resigned as a shareholder from one of the largest law firms in Florida. They stayed on as of counsel. I've been of counsel, and I was the treasurer of the firm as well. It's like 350 lawyers. And I said, you know what? I'm having too much fun with the law clinic, and I think it's time. I'm 69 years old. I said, I'm done. I told them in December 31st, my last day at the law firm, and now I'll just be doing the clinic stuff, which is great. I'm having a good time. Yeah. Well, it's really the students. It's really the students. So in any event, next slide. Let's talk about the boot camp. And then we're going to have to go over, well, if anybody can stay. We want to hear from you guys. So the boot camp's a 2-day thing. Save the date and online register. There's no charge for it. No charge. Although if you want lunch, they got box lunches. There's a fee for that, but you can also not get the box lunch. On that campus, there's some places, Starbucks and other things, or off campus, whatever. We're also having a VIP and speakers reception. There's a charge for that, but that's really not necessarily. Well, no, I think it's $50, so it's not cheap. Okay. Hors d'oeuvres, because we're going to be in this. We're going to be in one of the most exciting things. It's worth it, the price of admission, which is nothing, just to go there. NSU and Broward County together have put together and created they put in millions of dollars. The main library on the NSU campus, if you're familiar with it, is a very large building, 54,000 square feet on the floor. They took the top floor of the library, the 5th floor, gutted it down to the slab, and created the NSU Broward Center for English. It's an innovation hub. You just got the certificate of occupancy in 4 months ago. They're trying to get people. There's shared workspace there. There's presentation rooms, pitch rooms for startups, labs, computer labs. It's unbelievable. And we're going to be holding the boot camp there. It was held in the basketball arena on the NSU campus 4 years ago. It's held in the law school, we got a big area in the 3rd floor of the library there. But it's going to be in the center of innovation, and it's so exciting. So we're going to be focusing on that. The whole theme of it this year is innovating successfully, making it happen. And a lot of it is a repeat of what we've done in prior years, but but there's a lot that's different as well. So the opening speakers is creating an environment for innovation success. We're going to have the Chief Innovation Officer and the Director of the Innovation Center with our speaker, along with Sandy Michael McDonald, who's the head of Broward's Office of Economic and Small Business Development. And they're going to speak in the first hour and a half slot talking about the opportunities available to create an environment. And that's what both entities are trying to do. What the programming is at the Innovation Center, the opportunities there, and then Sandy Michael McDonald is going to talk about the Broward County initiatives, including the certified businesses and business entities, enterprises. Second panel is legal planning, some of the stuff that I covered. Some professors from the law school will be doing that for an hour and a half. And then we have a break for lunch. The afternoon, the first session is Foundations for Innovation Success, Business Planning and Financing. We'll get the head of the entrepreneurial program at the business school, talking about business planning and things of that nature. And then an attorney from Berger Singerman Law Firm is going to talk about capital and securities, basic stuff. I mean, not heavy duty like IPOs or whatever, but basic fundraising and compliance that you need. And then the next panel, the late afternoon, is one, it's a new one, creating pathways for innovation success in underserved communities. I'm going to not explain that till we get to the next slide. That's the one that I'm going to moderate, and Dr. Hollis is going to be on along with 3 other people. And then on the next day, on Saturday, it's going to be 2/3 of the day is intellectual property. It is very important, and you'll get into some of it. I'll give an overview, but then we're going to have a law professor talk about copyright and trademarks. We have 2 patent attorneys coming in talking about getting one and reality of it. Another group of attorneys coming in to talk about trade secret law, rights, related stuff. You're onboarding employees, offboard leaving, and there's huge legal issues there to consider and to plan for. And then the closing panel on Saturday afternoon is another roundtable panel with 5 people who are founders of businesses talking about their experience. What I know now that I wish I knew back then, what I've learned, where's the hurdles, et cetera. And that's going to be a 2-day thing. And the end of the day, Friday, after the meeting, we're going to have a cocktail reception, the VIP reception. Welcome to do that or not, but there is a charge. It's going to be catered and open bar and things like that. Close of Friday. Friday, it'll be like starting at, I think we finish at 4:15 or 4:30 on Friday, and it's going to be 15 minutes after that, but only the people that pre-signed up for it. Although I don't know if you can sign up. I don't know if they'll have enough food, but probably you could. You need to. We'll also have a networking session. Really network and talk to speakers, and people always come up after each panel and talk to the speakers and whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Public. Open to the public. We also broadcast it on the web. You can sign up for the online version too, so you don't even have to come there. We had over 100 people from all over the country for both of them, and we had about 100 live, and I think we're gonna have more than 100 live this year because we're gonna really publicize it. It's gonna be a center of innovation. It's worth it just to go there. It's unbelievable. And Dr. Hollis is gonna give me all the people that signed up, and we'll put the stuff is starting to go out to publicity next week. And you can go on, there'll be a website to sign up. There'll be no charge if you're just signing up for, just to attend, whether in person or online. you have the box lunch, whatever. You know, there is a fee for that because but you don't have to hire now because we're in this and we're using. It's like I said for the breaks. This is behind the scenes stuff. It's being recorded, but we got to use this caterer from the thing. And I said, no, you know, I could go to Costco and for the breaks, you know, and get the granola bar. I'll do that and I'll buy water. And they said, no. Yeah, yeah, we did that before. And it's like, no, you know, so it's now X dollars per, you know, granola bar and chips or whatever. I could have gone to Costco and got the box, 30 cents a piece. And I'm sure it's the same stuff, but that's not. Yeah. So anyway, whatever. That's what we got. You got it. Yeah. Oh, it's impressive. All right. So next slide, please. And then discussion of challenges faced by small businesses. So next, right here. This is from the program. This is, you'll see it. It's going to be published, as I said, next week. We have a description of each of the modules in the program. And it says, all startups face difficult challenges when starting and growing their businesses. All too often, these common challenges lead to business failure. Startups and their founders in underserved communities face those same challenges and often more that may result from one or more of the following: restricted access to capital, limited managerial experience and or trained workers, and inadequate support systems and networks. And it goes on and on. That's just examples. And I want to hear from you. Our panelists will engage in roundtable discussion identifying the unique challenges these founders face, as well as existing and desired resources, strategies, and initiatives to create or enhance pathways for innovation success in underserved communities. And what I want to do now, we took a survey of needs a couple months ago, but I wanted to hear from you folks on the 4 questions that I've identified. What are the biggest challenges for your businesses? And whether you're an underserved community or not, what are the biggest challenges you've faced? What strategies have you used to address those challenges? What existing resources have you found helpful? And what additional resources might help you further? And I'm going to get my pad and I'm going to call on you guys because
organizations like in the city of Miramar invest valuable resources. Now, I tell you, these things are being made available to you at no cost. But when you see me and when you see Paul, the city is investing in ensuring that we're made available to you. So it comes at a cost to the organization when you see Mr. Cass. So we don't want to develop programs without consulting the end user. What do you, it's nice that we believe as experts, he being an expert legally, knowing what smaller businesses need to start up, but then you may have particulars being a husband or a wife and things that he may not know about. And it's these kinds of engagements that allow us to get and hear only from you so that when we're developing the programs and when he's going back to develop the panel, he wants to ensure that he's including meaningful information, not because Dr. Hollis said so, but because a small business in the city of Miramar made Mr. Cass aware that this was a viable concern. So we're going to stop talking and we want to hear from you. What are some of the biggest challenges that you can discuss and feel comfortable discussing openly that you would concern or you would want Mr. Cass and the Burger Center to consider both addressing at the camp this year, as well as developing programs so he can continue to educate the law students in the future?
There's talking the talk and walking the walk. And right now,
Yes.
we're talking the talk, but the purpose is really to what could we do better?
That's right.
And I'm talking about not just the Burger Clinic.
That's right.
Or what you're doing, but what are initiatives? Because there's a lot of money behind the Center for Innovation, though that's not really where I'm from, or Mitchell and Sharon Berger, who was a law firm, Berger Singerman, invested in creating these Burger entrepreneur law clinics and the Burger Boot Camp, because they're trying to promote economic development and innovation and startup businesses in South Florida. And
Yes.
so if there's barriers, why don't you tell us what they are so we know and what we could do?
Yeah, particularly to those that you know that we're not addressing, in your opinion, perhaps adequately or to the extent that it can help you. Yes, sir.
So
You have to tell us your name. You are? Thank you so much for attending. 1 second. I'm going to move the mic.
okay.
Hi, my name is Gavin Rambach. The company is Dark Solutions. We've developed a product that does digital rights management, document security, and encryption. So protecting sensitive information or intellectual property. Now we're looking at reselling this or onboarding resellers internationally, and along the lines of a lot of the things that you say, you help address the IP, the trademark, the NDAs, and so on. One of our biggest challenges is how do we do this worldwide? Every country we face challenges. Some have treaties, some don't. Some have IP protection, some don't. Some have barely functioning legal systems and some don't. So our biggest challenge is putting the legal framework together to be able to distribute our product worldwide based on all of the things, everything from contract management and NDAs to intellectual property protection and so on.
Okay. So I'm going to get into a little bit more caveat of what the clinic can't do. And we don't do international work. And the reason is we have third-year law students. They haven't even become lawyers yet. And we're doing what I'm going to call the blocking and tackling. Florida corporate law, we're drafting contracts. They're actually quite sophisticated, but if one of the things under the Florida rules of professional responsibility for lawyers, you need to be competent in what you're doing. And quite frankly, I'm competent in a lot of things, but I'm not an international lawyer. And none of my students are, because they're not members of the Florida bar yet, haven't taken a bar, but we're focusing on there is some limitations on the scope of what we can provide. So what you really need is a lawyer that does specialize in international law. A lot of law firms, my law firm, for example, I'm currently with a firm called Carlton Fields. We've got international lawyers doing business transactions internationally. There's going to be a number of law firms that are presenting that do stuff there. And when I say presenting at the boot camp, that would also, most bigger firms will have an international practice, but you have specialists in those areas. I don't, even if for trademarking and patent, there's these patent conventions, there's the Madrid Protocol, things like that, where you get something here and there's reciprocity in other countries. I know I could throw those words out, Madrid Protocol, but if you ask me what the details are, I don't know. So I wouldn't do anything that I wouldn't be competent to talk about. But having the resources for international, that's a challenge. And if that's where your business is, or you want to sell into another country, and we need to find out and maybe get networks. Maybe there's other firms that will do it. Sometimes big firms will take on small businesses at a reduced rate, or some sort of very economically advantageous way of doing it. Like hoping you'll grow into a big client where you can pay their bigger fees, and maybe that's something we need to do, is tap into client legal organizations that have that capability, and how do you get smaller businesses involved with that? Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning. First, thank you for actually having this event, Dr. Hollis, and thank you for coming in. I had to come in because I have a big concern. When it comes to my business, my biggest concern is finding a consistent attorney to help read contracts for me and real estate contracts. When I reach out to them, it's always since after COVID, they're either too busy or they just don't, reach back out and finish through. I'm not sure, is it because I'm a mid or small business and they don't want to give me a price that's not, they think that I won't pay, but having a consistent attorney to help me with those documents will be a life changer because I don't know some languages I don't know. Some things I just can't do.
Okay.
Could you start off with your name and your name?
I'm sorry, I just went straight to the question. My name is Dudley Etienne Harvard, the president of Dudley's Professional Services, and we provide outreach, administrative support, technical, and project control for companies within the construction industry.
Okay. Well, if your company is, and I said this before, and I don't know if you're here, but we limit our because we can have more business than we know what to do with it. I'm talking about the Berger Entrepreneur Law Clinic. We we're don't charge for our services. We limit our client base to companies that can't, or people that can't otherwise afford a lawyer. And I can talk to you privately about that. But if you're starting up, and I know how expensive lawyers are. So, if you had $10,000 and they say, that's not enough, you need that for your other things. You got $100,000 or, you can screen somebody out very quickly. Somebody calls up, said, we need to reorganize our business. I said, how long have you been in business? X number of years, and what's your annual revenue? And they tell me that, and I say, you're big enough, you can afford a lawyer. We're looking at people that really, sometimes our clients can barely afford to pay the $100 and some odd to file on Sunbiz, their entity. We can't cover the costs of filing or things like that, but we can do the legal services for free. But my clinic, one of the services we do is exactly what you're looking for, looking at contracts, helping a business owner understand what's in that contract, ideally negotiating that or drafting that contract or modifying it before you sign it with the other side, and getting something that meets your needs and doesn't create, maybe mitigating some of the risks that are inherent in that contract by saying, you know what this provision really means to you, and are you agreeing to that? Well, maybe we can soften it or get rid of it or this or that. And that's what my clinic does. But I guess a need where there's probably a need, what I'm hearing from you is referral services and access to legal services. So I'll write that down too. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. And it might help if you, yeah, I saw, why don't you go in and you'll be very next, okay?
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm Miriam Sierra. I am a resident of Miramar, but I work for a nonprofit, Be Strong International. We are based in Palmetto Bay, but we serve Miami-Dade and Broward County. And we just got a memorandum of understanding with the city of Miramar, and that's how we found out about this. So I live here, and I did not know about this until we got this MOU. So I'm so excited. So here I am. I'm the senior program executive. I report to the CEO, so I know what's going on and how we're trying to grow and what have been the challenges. We've been around almost 30 years and not left the city of Palmetto Bay in terms of corporate, even though I live in Miramar, the CEO lives in Pembroke Pines. So we're actually Broward, a lot of Broward based. So we're moving up here, and we just got another grant to serve in Broward. And one of our challenges is obviously we've developed a lot of things over the years, right? We work with youth, we work with parents, and we now have a major grant and working with married couples. So we have established a lot of curriculum that we need to and I don't even know the right terminology, trademark it, patent it, and we don't even know what the language is. And of course, I know enough to know that we need attorneys to do this kind of stuff. We don't have the funding. Notice grants do not usually cover legal fees and attorneys. But that's the kind of information that we would need to know. What do we do next? Where do we go? When we have these projects that we've developed, we have a lot of long-term staff, so people have been invested. We were founded by a retired Miami-Dade County public school teacher. So it's very, very, very ground roots of people. Everybody is, our feet are on the ground. And, but we need to get some of these business things in line in order to grow. I've been a part of bigger organizations. I've worked for Memorial. I've been the CEO of another nonprofit much bigger. So I now work for them, and I've been trying to help them. Let's get the right resources to take us to that next level and ensure that the things we're doing don't walk out the door, right? So we have a lot of people that have been there 10 years, 14 years. Maybe time for them to move on. We want to make sure that all of our stuff stays inside.
That was part of the law employment considerations
Yes.
in the intellectual property.
When you mentioned the intellectual property, yeah, that.
Let me just give it one other caveat. All the stuff we don't do, but we do a lot. Patent filings and trademark filings. A patent filing will cost you 6 figures of legal fees, or maybe 5 figures, but it's a several-year process to get a patent approved. A trademark is at best 3 to 6 months and can be a year, depending on whether there's a real art to it and it's a specialized function. We don't do trademark filings either in the clinic, but what we do is talk with our clients about trade. I can talk to pretty intelligently, almost as not a trademark lawyer, but as a general lawyer, about what's involved with it and whether you've got something that's trademarkable. And we've done this with some of our clients. We've referred them. One of our clients wanted to trademark the company's logo and name. And we talked to them about it and what's involved. We couldn't actually do it. We're not registered with the USPTO. Particularly if you're a patent, you have to be a member of the patent bar. But we can talk about those things. We can file copyrights, and we've helped people with that.
Actually, it's probably copyright I'm referring to. I don't even know the right language. I know a lot of things, and I've dealt with lawyers on different matters. But when it comes to, we have curriculums and things, so I'm assuming copyright is probably the proper term. All these kinds of, we don't even know the difference between all these 3 things.
Okay, copyright. A copyright is an original expression that's fixed in a tangible medium. So I'm going to draw a house. This may not necessarily be original. That's my house. I'm not an artist. That is actually, right now, if this was original, and I wasn't copying anybody, although quite frankly, it's probably the same house that every elementary school kid ever drafted. Door and windows and a roof. And a chimney up north, because I grew up north. This is actually copyrighted right now under the common law. But I could take this thing, along with a certain small fee, I think $85, and I could file it with the U.S. Copyright Office, and I could then put a little C, copyright Stephen Cass 2021, and nobody could I have the right to copy this. I have the right to exclude others from using my thing. The Nike swoosh might be worth a little bit more, the Coca-Cola logo or the Mickey Mouse. But that's a copyright. A trademark is a slogan or a picture or a color. The red that Coca-Cola cans is trademarked. That color's trademarked. Associated with goods or services, actually service mark is that helps a consumer know the identity of origin. And you don't necessarily have to know that McDonald's Corporation is located in wherever they're located, I think in Chicago or whatever. But when you see those golden arches, as a consumer, you know what you're getting. And the nature of those things. You get the Coca-Cola can, you get the Nike swoosh, and again, you don't know where it's made, whether it's made in China or whatever, but Nike's put their logo on, and you trust that logo, or or trust or whatever, and you like that logo, or you want to use it, and it's a valuable asset. And when you file a trademark, file it at the USPTO in the trademark division, and you have to you can only get a trademark if it's not already trademarked, particularly like a name or a symbol. Maybe I create something that looks like this, and that's the Nike swoosh backwards, or it's not so good, but it's deceptively similar. They won't approve it, and you have to use it in commerce to get a trademark. So you have to use it in commerce, and then you file it with the USPTO. But when you used it in commerce, you did it in a certain context. Nike is in the shoes and clothing and other apparel business, maybe not in the food business. So when they file it, they say this swoosh in connection with the sale of athletic goods and apparel and equipment and hats and armbands or whatever wristbands, etc. Or you trademark the Coca-Cola logo in connection with soft drink products or whatever. And those you need a trademark lawyer to help you with the scope of the filing, doing searches to see whether it's been used before, if it has, how you can distinguish. Maybe you can be in a different category of trade, whatever. But there's a real knowledge base and an art to it, and the same with patents. So go ahead, sir. Oh wait, you were next. Let me.
No, it's along
A process? No, but you can patent a process. You may be able to, like software, you can copyright, and that's in one sense a process. You need an intellectual property lawyer who specializes in this. I'm telling you general stuff. I could probably go a little deeper than what I've said already, but I wouldn't want to be telling you your process can be patented and all of a sudden you're spending $25,000, $30,000 just to get some, I'm not going to do that. We can't do that. Sir. You can copyright what it looks like, the expression fixed down, like what if there's game cards, you can copyright those. You can, yeah. You want to speak to an intellectual property lawyer for that, but yeah. But we could talk generally. And a process is sometimes you want to keep as a trade secret. Okay. Right, and you take reasonable steps, and you have to have a legitimate business interest. You can have non-disclosure agreements, you can have non-competition agreements, and those we draft up all the time. It's not all the time, but every semester we're doing some of those. So somebody else does it in another city. Do you care? Do you really care? Or do you want it? You may want it from public good right. Or maybe you copyright your materials. You create a curriculum, and you could sell that, quite frankly. And that's monetizing it through licensing, basically. You license out for this Digital Marketing Academy, we work with them on taking their curriculum, their PowerPoints and instructional materials and getting copyright for it. So that the instructor can't walk away and get the PowerPoint, I'm going to just do it myself and they're my own company. Sir.
Yeah, so
you can take your mask if you want to just maybe be a teacher.
Have a host of questions, so I can ask them and then come back. So I have a few businesses. I have a dump truck business. So hearing like the different contracts that the city of Miramar may be having, but getting the different type of certifications, whether it's the CBE or the MBE or even federal, whatever they may be, that would be the type of challenge that just going through that process, having an understanding um, of that process. And then I also have an accounting business as well. And so employees, I get contracts that I work on, and they do through my consulting firm. But even with those employees and NDAs, maybe for the work that they're doing, but sometimes I work for a consulting firm that may, uh, so I have clients with there, and if my employees are helping me with this work, like NDAs and stuff that I would need to draft to make sure
Right.
they're not.
Yeah, sometimes you're let's say an independent contractor at XYZ thing, and they ask you to sign a non-compete, but they also say you're going to use it only to your employees, provided that they either sign a similar non-disclosure agreement
Right.
or agree that you're on the hook for this, and you may want to have a separate agreement with your employees that,
Right.
whereas you don't have to get this all legalese, but whereas, I've got this NDA doing this and I've got to keep it, and I'm giving you access to assist on it, you agree that you will not disclose it, you will not use it other than in connection with this project, you will not disclose it, you'll not disseminate it, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'll call it. And that's a non-disclosure agreement. And it's not that uncommon to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not, it can be done in 1 page, 2 pages. It's not like a 20-page contract.
That's one of the things.
You all assist them. I need to follow up with this one on getting certified, especially now with the innovation.
Well, no, I will tell you that to get certified, and Sandy Michael McDonald is going to say this because I've heard him speak 2-3 times at the Urban League and some other places. He's got a whole department at the Broward County that will assist you in preparing those applications. They want you to succeed. They want people to come in and become certified. They will. This is the Office Economic and Small Business Development. And as I said, Sandy's going to be one of my opening panel speakers. Mr. McDonald, Michael McDonald, Mr. McDonald. He talks about this. They put on workshops as well. I know the first time I met him was 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago at the Urban League. He was there and trying to get people to know what this program was. He brought in actually 3 or 4 people. They had little tables set up at the end to do starting your applications. And if you don't qualify because they're looking for a certain amount of seasoning and certain expertise and whatever, they'll also work with you, say, well, this is where you need to go. If you can develop this, or you need that, and or you need 2 years of seasoning, but we'll work with you so that when those 2 years come up, boom, you're ready to go and get approved, get on the list, and get and bid preference, bid notifications, and actually certain preferences. And that half-penny sales tax I'll tell you about in Broward County, it was voted on by the public 5 years ago, whatever. Mm-hmm. Serious money, and 30% of that money is earmarked for certified small businesses. And so when they're building out the airport, you're not going to be the general contractor to build a new terminal, but 30% of that money for that airport development, it's got to go to certified business entities, which may be subcontractors, maybe the people that are doing the floor installations. It may be the kiosks in there running those little stores and other things in the airport. There's a huge amount. I think the impact is something like X millions of dollars, $30 million in a year to small businesses. And it's over the next 30 years. It's like it's like $1 billion, $1.5 billion.
If it takes you about 5 to 7 years, you still become a millionaire with this project. I want you to know that
Gentlemen, raise your hand. Paul with Jorge. He is the he did expertise in all of our technical skills, and we actually have a recording of Sandy with the certification. His partner with them as well. They're one of our community stakeholders, several, because we are not a certified agency. We partner with those certification agencies. Accept their certifications because it is in the interest of the community as well, which is why I went back to the part A of your question that you get certified. So Paul and I will, we have those of you that are here, we will forward you a copy of that video with step-by-step instructions on how to become certified for the city, Broward County, and all of their contact information and everything that you will need to get certified. So we will make that available to you as well as the information. Using it, you be one more
Okay.
part.
And if you can flip the next slide too. Okay, but we're still.
And you guys have been answering some of those questions. The strategy. Do you have one more part you wanted to say? Or you
Right. Yes.
Alright, we start with your name. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi.
We have recorded this session. We appreciate you. State your name and your question, please.
Okay, great. My name is Dr. Amanda Spates. I'm an occupational therapist by trade, and I recently completed my post-professional doctorate in health science. My business is resilience coaching, and I'm creating continuing education, specifically focusing on culturally competent practices for autistic students and virtual instruction. So I'm planning to build and launch my course in January. But similarly, I just have a lot of questions about business in general. I'm an expert in OT and health and science. I'm a creative, I'm an academic entrepreneur, but I'm not a business person. I don't know the things that are available to me. I don't know what's free, what I'm going to have to pay for. So that's why I'm here. I don't know what I don't know.
The good news is we recorded this because we've covered a lot of this throughout the last hour and a half or so. But really quickly, and slides right into my last slide here. I'm the director of the Berger Entrepreneur Law Clinic at Nova Southeastern University Law School. And we provide pro bono, that is no charge, legal services to startup businesses and nonprofits that can't otherwise afford a lawyer. And what you're talking about that you do is not that different than some of the other clients that my clinic has provided legal services for the last 4 years. Very, very similar. And my contact information is up on that slide. This is a PDF of these slides. It's sent to Dr. Hollis this morning, and she's going to send that to all the attendees, so you'll have that. You don't need to write it down. You can call me. We talk about this today. We're putting on, and we do this supposedly every year, but COVID threw a wrench in it for the last year and a half. But we're putting on something called the Berger Entrepreneur Boot Camp on February 18th and 19th, about 3 months from now, approximately. So less. The actual publicity is going to be released next week on it, but I talked about it. I mean, we created the program, and it's free. You can sign up to attend in person. It's going to be on the NSU campus at the main library, and something called the Center of Innovation. And it will actually address a lot of what you were just asking about. And if you watch this video, or even read through my thing, or you can talk to me. Again, my contact information is there. I'm also, because it's 12 o'clock, we've actually gone a little longer than we thought. I've got the time, but I'm willing to sit and answer any individual questions. And that's as best as I can. It's very general.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. That's as long as I came to find out what's available. I'm a resource person, so
Okay.
Just like to know what my resources are.
Right, and we can take 1 or 2 more questions, but if anybody has them, otherwise we'll call it a day. You take the mic and take, and if
So,
Legal background provide some information. Not-for-profit. I did say that the city, the city buys everything. Services probably. There are a lot of us that definitely attend on a personal basis, but in terms of the services itself. Now, not-for-profit organizations, again, please use it. I won't. That a city services. But what we've seen post-COVID is we've had to change the way that we do exposure and the city and I are perfectly we were not able to congregate anymore in these types of sessions. We were not able to come into our offices and physically work in-house, but we work for an organization that is not a small business unfortunately, in that we were all called back individually to secure laptops, as did other organizations who were equipped to be able to work. With the new environment, COVID, a lot of organizations, including the city, we engaged in much more webinars and a lot of different activities. And we started securing the services of organizations approaching to assist. HR started doing various types of medical psychological well-being, because they wanted to make sure that they were advancing information to ensure the stability and well-being mentally of staff. We also advanced some of those types of coaching engagements, and we were notifying businesses of various coaching businesses and health organizations. In terms of now, the mayor has on Saturday where yoga is being made available at no charge for city residents and businesses should you want to come. And so what am I saying? Everything that happened pre-COVID, there were traditionals that were not engaged in. Those types of things have now been transitioned, and the city is open, and the city now engages in advancing measures to be able to develop and help the perspective of the total business, especially when we're working with small minority and disadvantaged businesses. It is imperative for us. In July, you will see on the calendar where it says health. We will be having a health fair. Nothing that we ever alluded to doing before, but a small business reached out to us, and the city of Miramar will be partnering with a host of organizations. And instead of just saying that one particular business, I alluded to health, because now in this pandemic, especially post, with all of the challenges that businesses and micro businesses, minority businesses, they are the business. They are the ones that are not only doing all of the work, trying to perform, etc. And what the experts are saying in this atmosphere is it becomes more psychologically challenging for individuals to continue to exist. And so we're going to have platforms. Now, I can tell you in that particular platform, to answer your question, I can see having a faith-based organization be able to secure a booth that health fair will provide bid in the city of Miramar a more widespread approach to ensure that we try to engage as many individuals that come and partake in it, and we make as many resources available to all businesses and community residents that attend that. So that's one of the things that I'm thinking of. You and I can talk personally afterwards about how you and your organization can be advantageous and helping us and to ensure that we create such a well-balanced health platform at any and every position or need that an individual comes to the city desiring to have addressed on that day. We have a community partner in place to have your organization get that platform. Thank you all so very much for having attended this afternoon. Again, the skill building workshops that we do here at the city, this being one of them, it's not a platform that, for the most part, generates. We have had 50 individuals attend when we did it before, but it's not about the large numbers. Instead, we want to continue to make sure that we're advancing viable, relevant, necessary information and making that information available to you today. We and we applaud businesses. The SBA concluded at the beginning of the pandemic that over 500,000 small businesses closed and will not be reopened. So when I see new businesses, I'm so impressed with the fact that through this law, you can really do what you do. And to the extent that Mr. Chas, myself, the city leader, to call him off speak on behalf of, we want you to know that we remain in this arena to ensure that we continue to foster and create ways in which we can advance and position you to succeed, from everything from securing legal resources to the extent that we can, partnering with and understanding the different platforms that can make those information that we can address to be able to see. Mr. Cassis agreed to stay. We also got to know the field notes that we have available for you, and we believe that will take on the way out. This will conclude the recording of the session because we do have staff in place recording. We can make that recording available to all of you. I will be forwarding the PowerPoint presentation. I have a conclusion of our session. Thank you again for attending the bid workshop this afternoon. Thank you for your continued support of the bid program. Please don't just hear this information. Take advantage of all of the information that's being made available to you. Take action. All these, when we present community experts, take advantage of their information when they say, here's my contact information, reach out to me. There is an application process. Criteria for the Burger Law Clinic. I always say to my firm, let me tell you no.
And let me just say this, even if we can't take you, I'm happy to talk to anybody. And, you asked about the international, and maybe that's something we can't do at the clinic, but I might be able to point you in the right direction or say, I think this is what you need here. And I'm happy to take those calls. And there's a phone number up there. That's the clinic main number. But we can put you through to me.
And they often come up county and your international trade organizations sponsors that. I did hear you as well, and I was going to say it off the record. I hear you. I will try to forward that information.